Hey guys, if you are joining me for the first time, my name is Kimberly and I live on 27 acres of beautiful wilderness in a one-room cabin with no kitchen, no bathroom, and no running water. I left New York City this past summer and I am living semi off-grid. I do have electricity and luckily I have my cell phone which connects me to the internet, which is wonderful. So what I'm doing today, what I have here is a giant bag of sawdust. It's one of many bags of sawdust that I have, which I collected over the summer. I was lucky enough for an Amish sawmill to give me an entire dump truck full of sawdust for free. So a lot of times these sawmills, they have just enormous amounts of sawdust that they need to get rid of. So I've got a collection of this stored up, and here is why I need it. So it's really, really critical. It's a critical component of me being able to live with, well, no running water. Okay, so when I was in New York, I knew that I had to get out of there fast, and that's a story for another video, but I had to make a decision on where I was going to live, and this property was left to my siblings and me from my father, who passed away several years ago. So there's no working house on the property for all of us to live, but there is, it's actually a gazebo. And my dad built this gazebo. It's just one room. It has a propane fireplace, it has electricity, but it was never meant to be somewhere to live full time. It was sort of a little area to come out and enjoy the view. It's got windows all around it, and it's a really beautiful structure, very cozy. But as I've said, it doesn't have any of these full-time living amenities. So the reason why I'm able to do this, and I'm so happy that I stumbled upon this information, is because of something called a lovable loo. Okay, so I had no idea if I was even going to be able to stay up here for a couple days. When I first got back from New York, I asked my sister to drive me up here because I didn't have a car, because in New York, most people, we don't need cars. So my sister drove me up here, and every time I start a video, my dog comes to see me. Hello, Marshall, how are you today? So this is not my dog, it's actually my brother's dog. So, woo, okay. He's very excited. My brother lives on the same property in a different home with him and his fiance and his baby, so there's no room for me. I really hope Marshall doesn't knock over. All right, let's see how this goes. So anyway, my sister drove me up here. I didn't know if I was going to be even able to stay for a couple days, because how long can you live without a bathroom? But I stumbled upon something called a lovable loo, and basically what it is, it's just a bucket system. And I know this is kind of like a touchy subject, but it's something I'm so grateful that I discovered, because it makes a lot of sense. It's not gross or anything like that at all. So let me explain it. Basically, well, the lovable loo itself, it's like a wooden box made out of a beautiful pine wood, and there's a bucket inside. It's fitted with a toilet seat. And what you do is you take sawdust, which is basically really like a little miracle material. It has so many uses, and the Amish use it a lot. You put a scoop or a couple scoops of sawdust on the bottom of the bucket. You use the bathroom. And then you cover it with more sawdust. Sawdust really absorbs, well, it absorbs liquid, and it absorbs any odors. So this whole system is very clean, and you would never know that a lovable loo was there. So I just have this inside of the cabin, and the sawdust is a critical component. So back to the point of all of this sawdust, I've got it stored up, and it's, you know, it's been freezing weather here for quite a while. So it's not completely frozen in this bag, but it's getting like pretty solid in some areas. So what I'm doing right now is breaking it all up. So I'm going to fill up this plastic container, which I usually have inside of the cabin, and that's what I keep right next to the lovable loo. because obviously I'm not going to keep all of the bags of sawdust that I have inside of the cabin because that would take up way too much room. So I'm getting this prepared, and I've got a lot of stuff to break up here. I want to have at least one plastic bin full, and we'll see how long this takes. Hopefully not too long. So another thing that is critical to this system working is having some land. You know, it could be just a backyard, but an area to where you can have a compost bin. So I have a compost bin. It was really easy to put together, and I actually have another video coming out about that. I just used 4 wooden pallets that I also got for free at the local nursery. And what you do is you put straw all around the compost bin, and that contains all of the compost. Another thing about that is it takes about a year to fill the compost bin up, and then once you have it set up, it's going to age for another year. So it's going to be working as it's sitting there and turning itself into really beautiful soil. So you have nutrient-dense soil if you want to put around your trees or however you want to use it. So I think that is a much more environmentally friendly system than what we currently have. I've always felt really uneasy about what we do with our municipal water system, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Of course, what I'm doing, I don't really know what the solution would be in a big city, because when people are dwelling in apartments, they often don't have backyards. So I don't know if there's a solution, but at least in the country, it's very feasible. And I personally don't ever want to go back to a water toilet system. So I mentioned that I use a product called the Lovable Loo, but you don't have to have this particular product to make it work. You can literally get a bucket. It's best if it's a food grade bucket so that it doesn't leach harmful chemicals into the soil. And they actually sell toilet seats that you can fit to the bucket. So the Lovable Loo, I can't remember exactly, it's, you know, a couple $100s. I went ahead and I invested in that because I had so much going on when I first came back. I didn't even have a car, so to get to the store and like find all these materials, along with all the other things I was dealing with as far as just starting to live off grid, I thought it was worth it for me just to buy it. Also, the person who came up with this system, or actually the system has been around since ancient times, really, in one form or another. But he wrote a book about it. He's done extensive research. He's been all over the world. I always get his name wrong. I think it's Joseph Jenkins. The first name might be wrong, but his last name is Jenkins. And he wrote a book called The Humanure Handbook. And it's really amazing what you can learn about compost, which is so important for our ecosystems. And anyway, so go ahead and, you know, if this is something that you're thinking about because you want to make a move off grid, you don't necessarily have to get the Lovable Loo, although I highly recommend it. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's just a system that really saved my life. So I'm very happy with it. Before I found the Amish sawmill, I had bought some sawdust from the Lovable Loo company. It's not exactly very cost effective to do it that way. You could also use pine shavings, cocoa coir, and some other things like that, as long as there are no chemicals added to it, because you want this to be as natural as possible. Hi. Hi. Come here. Come here. Hi. 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 How you doing? Hello. excited. Woo. Hi, bud. Sorry. All right, so we are inside of the cabin. I wanted to give you a little sneak peek of where I live and to give you a view of what I mentioned. It is called a lovable loo. And the lovable loo, as I mentioned before, it was absolutely critical in having something like this for me to be able to live off-grid, semi-off-grid, the way that I'm living. So you can see here, it is a very simple construction. It's made out of pine wood. There is a perfectly sized hole inside of this wooden lid, and it fits a 5-gallon food grade bucket. And you want to make sure when you get your buckets that you also get lids. One thing that I've heard is that restaurants will often need to get rid of their food grade buckets because they get so many food deliveries. I haven't actually tried that yet, although I'm thinking about it. I picked up my buckets at Lowe's. So anyway, you can find them in many different places. You just really want to make sure that you get food grade so that your compost is not leaching toxic chemicals in it. So anyways, what can I tell you about this? It's really simple. I've got my plastic bin of sawdust right here, got a little scoop inside, and you know, I've got my little bathroom necessities over here with some TP and hand soap and things like that. Earlier I mentioned a book, and it's called The Humanure Handbook, and I guess I got his name right. It's Joseph Jenkins. I'm so grateful that he wrote this book and put together this lovable loo. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with it at all. It just really changed my life. In this book, he's been using this system for, I think, over 40 years, and he has, I think, 4 children or something, and they've all grown up using it. They use the compost on their food garden, and I know a lot of people who also do. There's a lot of things that you need to know on how to do it properly, so it's not just something to jump in and do without proper research. But this book really debunks anything that people would have to say about why people might not, should use this system. I think it's a great system. It's environmentally friendly, and there's literally 0 waste. So you do whatever you got to do. You cover it with sawdust or coco coir or pine shavings, any kind of natural material, but I think sawdust is the best. Sawdust also breaks down really easy, so when this is aging in your compost bin, sawdust is one of the best materials to have for it. So that's really it, I think. I hope I covered all the bases, but I'm so happy to show you a little bit more about where I live and how I'm living off grid. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.